Get your finances in order before you try to start a business. I advise people to have your team on deck, tax professional, having a business coach, all of these people where when it goes wrong, you have somebody to call. I think the other part too is the emotional support is huge for me.
Welcome to the Franchise Freedom Podcast, where you can escape the corporate trap through franchise ownership. Here's your host, Giuseppe Grammatico, the Franchise Guide.
Welcome to the Franchise Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Giuseppe Grammatico, your franchise guide, the show where we help corporate executives experience time and financial freedom via franchising. We are continuing our conversation with Lacey Langford as it's part two of the series, as Lacey has helped people in active duty, as well as transitioning out of the military, our veterans, with both their finances and business ownership. Switching gears, and I wish we had hit the record button sooner since we were talking about it, but talk to us, when I had you on the show, we'll say 3 years ago, talk to us about the rebranding to Milmo from the Military Money Expert.
Yes.
And your experience.
Yeah. So I had a trademark and it was kind of just jointed the names of my business. So I was known as the Military Money Expert, but my website was LaceyLangford.com. Mm-hmm. My podcast was the Military Money Show. So it was already on my radar. Like, this is disjointed. Like, this isn't clear branding. Yes, people know who I am. They know the show, but sometimes, people would be introduced to me in different ways and not realize I was one or the other. But then I had somebody reach out about my trademark and wanting to use a trademark that was similar to mine. So mine was blocking their trademark. And so it became an illegal issue. Not that it, got taken too far, but it helped kind of push me to make a decision like, okay, I'm at a crossroads here. I could kind of fight this, or I could do a rebrand right now, right. And put the money into the rebranding instead of fighting something that I knew in the long run I needed to redo anyway.
Right.
And so it was like bittersweet, like really sucked, having to go through that. It was stressful. It was annoying. And then also too, I know you get it. It's something that you have worked really hard and created, and having somebody in any way try to like come in on that, it's very upsetting and hard not to take personal, right. But it truly is, it's business. How that all went down. And so I tried to make a really smart business decision for myself and the future of my business. And so it was a pivotal moment where I decided, okay, hey, I'm just going to rebrand right now to Milmo, something that was a unique name. I really liked the way it flowed. I changed my website to milmo.co, which I felt like also had a little better ring to it. Instead of LaceyLangford.com, I wanted something shorter, a little snappier, and also reflective of me, being very positive. I want to uplift people. And so it was good to like work through all of that branding and redoing things, and then also having a better positioned trademark to really protect the work that I was doing. So again, like bittersweet, like there was good and bad with it, but looking back, like happy with all the lessons that I learned, I guess is the best way to say that. Yes, very painful, but I'm coming out a lot stronger from it.
Gotcha. So, and your advice would be for someone that is launching a business, what would your advice be?
I would do a consultation with an attorney about the name of your business. And also too, it's really hard because when you start out, you want people to know what you do.
Right.
So for me, like I'm a financial coach that helps the military community with money. So it's like Military Money Expert makes complete sense, but that's not unique. Like a lot of people, those are general terms other people could use. And so when you're starting out, I would think long and hard about having a very unique name. That will mean you have a unique website, having a unique logo. And then you have, this is the part I didn't, wrap my mind around. You have subtitle, like a subheader, like, okay, Milmo, military, money, and entrepreneurship. So people know what I'm about because I put it right under Milmo. And I didn't understand that when I started out. So I would say think of a unique name and then get a consultation with a trademark attorney if you are interested in doing that, because you don't want to put all the work into creating a website, creating social media accounts, like all of these things, if somebody else is already using that name or they're going to come after you for it. And the other part too is just because the domain name is not available does not mean that you can't trademark it. So having a conversation with an attorney, I think, would be the best thing you could do. Whether that's, $400 worth the $400 to have that conversation and that intel, that information.
There needs to be is there a book that exists that covers all this? A checklist? Like, I have a lot of things that I advise new franchise owners: make sure you have your estate planning, and getting a little bit more specific, make sure your attorney's in the state that you are located in, because New Jersey law is much different than New York law, as an example. And I had just learned that redoing our paperwork. So much different. I was shocked at the differences. So it's really where you reside. And I feel like, there's parts of it, but then there's certain things I miss. I feel like there needs to be this ongoing book. Maybe it's a Google Doc where every expert is kind of saying, all right, you need on the legal side, on the accounting side, on whatever side, everything is covered. So
I think I advise people to have your team on deck. And that is a really great a business attorney, which is different than a trademark attorney. Right. Understanding the difference between a practicing attorney and a litigating attorney. Also having, a tax professional, having a business coach, all of these people where when it goes wrong, you have somebody to call. Because if not, when it goes wrong, you have to come to a full stop and find the right people to handle that situation when you're not in a really good mental state. You're highly stressed, you're very emotional. And so it's hard to make a really smart business decision when you're keyed up and panicked. And, and most of the time I found that it's going to be expensive too. Yeah. And so you're panicked about the money, like all of these things. So taking the time and talking with other entrepreneurs, I think, is really helpful to say, like, hey, who are you using? What are you doing? And starting to form your team right now instead of when you're in crisis, because that's not the way you want to do it.
Right. You're right. You're not thinking clearly. You're rushing. You're forgetting things. I totally agree. Actually, I come from the investment world. So first person, when I was putting together the team, I knew issues. There was no communication with professionals. So I wasn't looking for the best financial advisor, the best accountant. I wanted to look for someone that I enjoyed working with, but also that they had connections. So for example, my financial advisor I go, who is your accountant? She told me who the accountant was, and they're personal friends. And the accountant's friend, I said, can you refer an attorney? They referred an attorney, and they actually speak, whether it's a conference call or they go out to dinner once a month or once a quarter. I forget the frequency, but it was so difficult to have an attorney, my attorney, speak with my accountant in the past. So it was just a pleasure, because sometimes, well, this is better for on the accounting side and it could save you in taxes, but this will give you more legal protection. So it's nice to have the team, talk it out. And a great book that covers a lot of this is by Dan Sullivan, Who Not How. Not how to do it. Who are the professionals that can help me, with my finances? Hint, Lacey. Who can help me with my accounting, my legal, my trademarks, and things like that. And not going online and trying to figure it out yourself. You'll save so much time and so much aggravation. So I think that's a great point. One question I had: so with the services and coaching that you offer, what about if you had mentioned, financial reviews and things like that? But when it comes to funding, are there special programs? So if you need a loan to start a business, a franchise, a startup, whatever it is, are there special programs that you know about or have access to for veterans that are looking for to own a business?
Yes, there are a ton. I wouldn't even try to list them all. The VA has a lot of them. The Small Business Administration sure has a lot more. There's a lot of nonprofits that often help in the entrepreneurship space, especially Bunker Labs is a really well-known one. DAV or DAV, they have Patriots Boot Camp. They help you get started, and then maybe a little bit of funding through some of their funders. And then also too, getting under government contracts. So that's a really great way to get funding. I did a whole show. I interviewed a woman about how she uses government contracts. So whether that's, she does a lot of consulting. And so getting contracts with the government to provide those consulting services a great way that funds her business. So there are a lot of them. but I found a lot of, service members and veterans bootstrap, not wanting to take on debt.
Good
But
point. Right. You don't have to take on that. Correct. Exactly.
right,
I'm glad you
right.
mentioned that. Right.
There are a lot of grants though, and
Mm.
pitch competitions within the military community. Again, there's been one through Bunker Labs in partnership with some other nonprofits
Mhm.
where you do a pitch about your business and can get funding that way. There's some bigger ones and smaller ones. So I always tell people, like, just do the research, and some of those I can send you some links, but
Please.
all those organizations, you can kind of get down on a rabbit hole, but you should take the chance, like doing a pitch competition. Like, what do you care what anybody thinks about your business?
Right.
Like, if they're going to give you money, like, so what?
That's
Do you have to
interesting.
get up in front of people and say it? I think that's actually one of the really great strengths of the military community, is like, we're not worried about what other people are thinking.
Right.
We're business focused. So putting yourself out there and trying to avoid going into debt, but knowing that there are resources if you have a plan for how you're going to pay that back. Just like
Right.
you wouldn't run up your credit card without a plan of like how you're going to pay that off.
Without a
and
plan, you'll never pay it off. With those interest
Right.
rates, it's going to be a never ending payment plan. So
Yes. So I think it just really depends on the business that you want to start. I know you know more about getting funding for franchises, but just other businesses in general, like, it's out there. And NAV is another one that has a lot of recommendations on grants and funding. So
yeah, if you have any links, I'd love to. If you wouldn't mind, maybe your top 2 or 3, would love to include those in the show notes for the listeners listening in. I know it's long websites and addresses, so we'll throw that all into the blog. What, I guess, kind of, wrapping up and be respectful of your time. I know we wanted to keep this around 30 minutes or so. What other things did we not discuss, or advice you have for people coming out of the military? Things to consider, maybe things to prepare for, while serving.
I would say, first of all, get your finances in order before you try to start a business. If you're thinking you want to go into entrepreneurship or own a franchise when you get out, you don't need to be running with a bunch of debt, because it's going to make it harder for you to make decisions. It's also going to make it harder for you to handle problems. If you get hit with like extra taxes or an expense that you weren't expecting in your business, if you're personally maxed out financially, it's going to be a bigger problem for your business. So get those in order, build up your savings so you have a little bit of wiggle room. But I would also say, like, go for it. Like, make a plan. Don't wait till a month before you get out. You should get ahead of this. You should get 2 years ahead of what your transition plan is, and then start getting your dream team on deck, like getting mentorship. Veterati is a really great resource for service members that are trying to connect with fellow entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
It's through LinkedIn and it's free. I do it. I'm a mentor on Veterati, and you can go through and look at people's profile, their area of expertise, the work that they do, and you get 1 hour free talking to them and them explaining the playing field. So you can get really ahead of the learning curve doing things like that. So get that mentorship. And then also too, it's not going to be perfect, but if that's what you want, go for it. Like, make a plan and then start working on it. Good enough is good enough to start a business and to go into entrepreneurship. You're going to learn hard lessons, like we all do as business owners. Like, you will not be special. Like, everybody.
We are not special.
Yes.
I guess maybe we're special. Maybe we're lacking something and we like punishment, but
Yes.
in some cases, but yes, you are right. No one, it's all on you. No one really cares. It's just like you're new, you've been in business a year or 10 years, doesn't really make a difference. You need to be mentally ready, have that financial cushion. Sometimes the business takes longer than expected, but yeah, you nailed it. I mean, it's the exact advice I give to everyone. How are you going to fund it? What about time? If you're going to do this full time, who's paying I can't tell you how many people are saying to me, I'm going to leave my job and I'm going to run this, I'm going to start a business. And I said, great. Full-time ownership, like I did, was great. I ramped the business much faster than others doing it part-time, as an example. But what was the difference? The difference was I had money set aside and my wife was still working. We were recently married. So there was a plan in place. So it was, I jokingly say peanut butter and jelly and no vacations the first year. And that was okay for what we were looking to do. So if you are looking, some people get, I think, too excited. Like, well, who's going to pay your rent? Who's going to pay your health insurance? Who's going to pay your car payments? And anything else, if you have any other debt. But, put that plan together and talk to someone. Talk to someone that's done it, not someone that maybe has heard about it or a friend of a friend. Talk to a business owner and talk to them about the peaks and the valleys and how, the emotional roller coaster, as I call it. And I don't know why people don't do that more often. You would think they would, but just talk to people and talk to various people. Talk to someone that owns a coffee shop, someone that owns a cleaning service, and everything in between. But I think there's so much knowledge there and you talk, and obviously everyone has different backgrounds, but you kind of start to figure, okay, yeah, I want to go down this route, or maybe I want to go down a different route or a different industry. So that would be my 2 cents there. I know I was rambling there, but that's kind of my, I hear it all the time. I like to try to help people and not make it so stressful. It's gotta be fun at the end of the day.
Yes, I agree with you. Talking to other people, getting different perspectives in different areas of business, because the way they do business, like you said, like a dry cleaner, totally different from what I do, but right. Still lessons that are applicable to what I'm doing, just maybe in a different way, or something that might inspire me to try in my business. But I think the other part too is the emotional support is huge for me. Like, I didn't get that in the beginning, is, when you start a business, it's your imaginary friend. Only you truly see it and believe it. Even if you get a franchise, like, your friends are going to be like, oh yeah, right. Like, you're going to do a franchise, so you are trying to make the imaginary real to other people. Right. And you will often think you are crazy because, again, like, you're trying to, like, hey, I'm putting money into my imaginary friend. Right. Like, hey, right. I have to work all night long for my imaginary friend. And so that's really hard when, you're trying to talk to somebody that hasn't been through what you're going through. But I have found, like, just so inspired and relieved when something, stressful in business, or I'm like getting run down, to be able to talk to another entrepreneur, because they're like, oh, totally get it. Like, I've been there, and they're like, hey, get up. Like, it's hard for all of us, but, like, you're just in a rut right now. Get up.
But look at, like, 10, a couple of years out, and look what it can be. And you're right. You need to talk. You need that emotional, that support system, like that group after hours where we're all kind of talking about, all right, I got into a business. We're all nuts here. Why do we get into it? And there's so many things that it's like, you stick it out. And I think that the best thing, someone like yourself, myself, people in our positions, is just set the expectation. It's going to be really difficult in the very beginning. What are your thoughts of investing X amount of money and not collecting a paycheck for maybe a couple months? We don't, so what are your thoughts there? Can you handle that? What are your, what are your thoughts around that? Let's discuss that, because if you don't have that stomach, or the, if you can't handle it, then maybe entrepreneurship at this point in time isn't worth it, or maybe, you need that larger cash reserve. So I think it's setting the expectation. I think people appreciate that. And I always say, meet people where they're at. At some point, maybe the timing is a little bit better and we revisit the conversation. But talk to people that have been through it. That would be kind of my. I'll leave it off there. But if they've owned a business, know someone that knows a friend of a friend that owns a business, and I think that conversation will be will definitely be helpful. So, how can everyone find you? So you have a couple resources, and we'll put those in the show notes. But for those listening in on iTunes.
Milmo.co, milmo.co is my website, and you can connect with me there. That's helping the military community with personal finance. And then my other company, millmoneycon.com, is the conference that helps financial professionals that are united in the military service some way, or just really big supporters of our community. But either one of those places, you can connect with me there, or on LinkedIn.
And we'll put all that. I have that, and I'm going to put that in the show notes here. Lacey, it was a pleasure. It was great. Great catching up. Looking forward to chatting again very soon, and we will talk again very soon.
Thank you, Giuseppe. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. If you want to learn how to make the transition from corporate to owning your franchise, join Giuseppe on the next episode. You can also follow on all social media platforms and achieve financial and time freedom today.